The year was 2187. Earth was beautiful. Humans had fixed almost everything. Clean air, clean water, no big wars. Cities floated above clouds. Cars flew silently through the sky. Children played in green parks without fear. Life was good. Life was peaceful. But peace, as humans would soon learn, does not last forever. It started with a small sound. A beep. One single beep in a deep space monitoring station in Canada, Doctor. Sarah Chen was drinking her coffee when she heard it. She looked at her screen. She blinked. She looked again. Her coffee cup slowly fell from her hand and broke on the floor. But she did not look down. She could not look away from the screen because what she saw on that screen changed everything. "Control, this is Station 7, she said slowly into her radio. Her voice was shaking. "I am reading. A large movement, far side of Jupiter, very, very large." There was silence on the radio. Then a voice came back. "Define large, Dr. Chen." Sarah swallowed hard. Her fingers were trembling as she typed the numbers. "I am reading over 4,000 objects," she said quietly. "Moving fast, moving together, and they are heading directly toward Earth." The radio went completely silent. Within 1 hour, every major government on Earth knew. Within 2 hours, world leaders were in emergency meetings. Within 3 hours, the military was on full alert. But nobody told the people. Nobody told the 8 billion humans living their normal lives, going to work, eating dinner, laughing with family. They had no idea. They had absolutely no idea what was coming for them. The objects moved closer. Deep space telescopes turned toward Jupiter. Scientists stared at their screens with wide eyes and open mouths. What they saw was not meteors. What they saw was not space rocks. What they saw were ships, warships, giant warships, each one bigger than a city, some bigger than small countries. 4,260 warships moving in perfect formation, moving like one giant dark machine, moving directly toward the small blue planet called Earth. General Marcus Webb stood in the World Defense Center in Geneva. He was a big man, strong man, a man who had never feared anything in his life. But that night his hands were cold. He looked at the holographic display in front of him. The alien fleet was still far away, still near Jupiter. But at their speed, they would reach Earth in exactly 72 hours, 3 days. That was all the time Earth had. "What are our options?" General Webb asked the room. The room was full of the smartest military minds on the planet. Scientists, generals, weapons experts, space commanders. They all looked at each other. Nobody spoke. Finally, a young scientist named Dr. Patel raised his hand slowly. "Sir," he said quietly, "our weapons cannot stop this fleet. We have missiles, laser cannons, nuclear options. But 4,000 ships of that size?" He shook his head. "We would need to destroy all 4,000 before even one reaches Earth. And sir, we cannot do that." The room went silent again. General Webb closed his eyes. Then the message arrived. It came through every communication frequency at the same time. Radio, satellite, internet, television, every screen on Earth suddenly went black. People in restaurants looked up from their food. People in homes stopped watching movies. Pilots in planes looked at their navigation screens. Children in bedrooms looked at their tablets. And then, on every single screen, on every single device, in every corner of the world, one message appeared. Simple words, cold words. "People of Earth, you have 72 hours to surrender. Those who resist will be erased. Those who surrender will serve. This is not a warning. This is your only option." And then the screens went black again. Panic hit the world like a wave. People ran into streets. Some cried, some screamed, some just stood and stared at the sky. Governments tried to calm people down. But how do you calm 8 billion people when 4,000 alien warships are coming? How do you tell a mother her children are safe? How do you tell an old man who survived wars that everything will be okay? You cannot, because nothing was okay. Nothing was okay at all. Back in Geneva, General Webb slammed his fist on the table. "We do not surrender," he said. His voice was strong, but his eyes showed something else, fear. Real fear. We find a way, we always find a way, that is what humans do. But nobody in that room had an answer. The scientists had no solution. The weapons experts had no plan. The generals had no strategy. Earth was powerful, yes, but not powerful enough. Not for this, it was Dr. Sarah Chen who noticed it first. She was sitting alone in the corner of the room, staring at the map of the solar system on her small tablet. Her eyes were following the path of the alien fleet from deep space past Saturn, past Jupiter, and then, before reaching Earth, the fleet's path went very close to something, very close to a small red planet. Sarah stood up slowly. Her heart was beating fast. "Sir," she said. Her voice was so quiet that General Webb almost did not hear her. "Sir, I need everyone to look at this." The room turned toward her. She put her tablet map on the big screen. She traced the alien fleet's path with her finger. "They come from here," she said. "They pass here, and here. And before they reach Earth..." Her finger stopped, right on the red planet. "They pass Mars." The room was quiet. "And sir?" Sarah said slowly. Her eyes were wide now, not with fear, but with something else. Something that looked almost like hope. "I need to ask one question." She looked around the room, at the generals, the scientists, the world leaders watching on screen. "What exactly do we have on Mars?" Nobody answered, but two men in the back of the room, two men in black suits who had said nothing all night, slowly looked at each other, and one of them picked up his phone, far away on a cold red planet covered in dust and silence. A light turned on deep underground, a screen activated, and an alert message appeared in red letters. "Incoming transmission classification. Highest secret, eyes only. Commander Yara." The cursor blinked, waiting. Something was waking up on Mars, something that was never supposed to exist, something that Earth had hidden for 30 years and in 72 hours. The entire universe would find out what it was. Commander Yara Hayes did not sleep much. She never did. Sleeping on Mars was different. The base hummed at night. Machines, air filters, power generators, a constant low sound that never stopped. Most people on the base found it annoying. Yara found it comforting. It meant everything was still running. It meant they were still alive. She was sitting at her desk when the alert came. Red light, highest classification. She had been commander of Mars Base Redwall for 6 years. In 6 years, she had never received a highest classification message, not once. Her hand moved slowly to the screen. She pressed her thumb for identification. The message opened, she read it once, then she read it again, then she sat completely still for a long time. "All personnel, report to the main hall immediately," she said into the base communication system. Her voice was calm. Her voice was always calm. That was why they made her commander. 212 soldiers and scientists filled the main hall in 7 minutes. They were still half asleep, some still pulling on their jackets. They looked at their commander standing at the front. Her face was unreadable. That made everyone nervous because Yara always had an expression, serious or focused, or sometimes a small smile. But not this. This face was something they had never seen before. "Listen carefully," she said. "I will say this once, and I will say it clearly. 4,000 alien warships are moving toward Earth right now." Silence. Complete silence. "Earth has 72 hours before they arrive." More silence. Then someone in the back whispered, "Are we going home?" Yara looked in that direction. "No," she said simply. "We are not going home. We are going to work." Project Redwall was not in any public records. No newspaper had ever written about it. No government had ever admitted it existed. 30 years ago, when humans first started building on Mars, the world was told it was just a science station. Research, soil samples, weather studies, normal, boring science. That was the story. That was the lie. The truth was buried 400 meters underground, tunnels that stretched for 2 kilometers in every direction, power systems that could run for 100 years without refueling, weapons that had never been used in real combat, never tested against a real enemy, because no real enemy had ever come before. Until now. Yara walked her team through the lower levels. Most of the younger soldiers had never been down here. They had clearance for the upper base only. Now they walked with wide eyes and open mouths, long corridors with heavy metal walls, doors that needed 3 separate codes to open. And behind those doors, weapon systems so advanced that even Yara did not fully understand all of them. "What is this place?" a young soldier named Private Cole asked quietly. He was 19 years old, first posting away from Earth. He had thought Mars would be boring. "This," Yara said, stopping in front of a giant sealed door, "is the reason Mars was really built." The door opened slowly, and the team walked into a room the size of a football stadium. In the center of that room was a cannon, but cannon was too small a word for it. It was a weapon that stretched from floor to ceiling, powered by something deep under the Martian surface. A geothermal energy system connected directly to Mars's own core. The engineers who built it called it the Hammerfall. It had never been fired, not even in testing, because one test shot would have been visible from Earth, and the secret would have been over. So it just sat there, waiting for 30 years it had been waiting. "Sir, with respect," said Dr. Okafor, the base's chief scientist. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and sharper opinions. "This weapon has never been tested. We do not know what it will do. We do not know if it will work at all." Yara nodded. "You are right," she said. "We do not know. But we are going to find out." The alien fleet appeared on Mars radar at hour 14, still far away, still near the asteroid belt, but visible now, clear and visible. Private Cole stared at the radar screen without blinking. 4,260 dots moving in perfect formation, moving like a wall, a giant dark wall moving through space. "They are so many," he said quietly. Nobody answered him because there was nothing to say. At hour 20, a transmission came from Earth. General Webb's face appeared on screen. He looked older than his pictures. Tired eyes, tight jaw. "Commander Yara," he said, "I am going to be direct with you. We know what you have down there. We know about Redwall, and I need you to understand something very clearly." He leaned forward. "Your orders are to stay hidden. Do not activate any systems. Do not make any signals. If that fleet does not know you are there, they will pass Mars and come to Earth. And we will handle it from here." Yara kept her face calm. "Understood, General," she said. The transmission ended. Her team looked at her. "We are staying hidden," Dr. Okafor said. It was not a question. Yara did not answer immediately. She walked to the radar screen. She stood there for a long time, watching those 4,000 dots move slowly, steadily, toward the inner solar system, toward Earth, toward 8 billion people who were right now sitting in fear, hiding in their homes, crying, praying, watching the sky. Private Cole came and stood beside her. He was young enough to be her son. He looked at the radar screen and then he looked at her. "Commander," he said quietly, "if we do nothing..." He stopped. He did not finish the sentence. He did not need to. Because everyone in that room was thinking the same thing. If they did nothing, Earth would fall. If Earth fell, there was no going back. There was no second chance. Humanity would be finished, not just weakened. Finished. Yara turned away from the radar. She looked at her team, 212 people. Some scared, some angry, some trying to hide both. All of them looking at her, waiting, trusting. "General Webb gave us our orders," she said slowly. "He told us to stay hidden." She paused. "But General Webb is sitting safely underground in Geneva." Another pause. "And we are here." She looked at the radar one more time. The fleet was getting closer. She could almost feel it. The weight of 4,000 warships pressing through space toward the people she was born to protect. She made her decision. "Battle stations," she said. Her voice did not shake. It never shook. "Activate all weapon systems. Bring Hammerfall online." The room moved instantly. Soldiers ran to their posts. Scientists rushed to control panels. Lights changed from white to deep red. The entire base began to hum, a deep, powerful hum that they had never heard before. The sound of something waking up after 30 years of sleep. Private Cole sat down at his targeting station. His hands were shaking slightly. He took a breath and steadied them. He looked at the radar. He selected the 3 lead ships of the alien fleet. The screen flashed once. Green letters appeared. Target locked. Yara stood in the center of the room, straight and still like Mars itself, cold, red, and completely unmovable. "Let them come," she said quietly. On the radar screen, 4,000 warships moved closer. They had destroyed civilizations before. They had never lost, not once in 300 years of conquest. But they had never met anyone like Yara. And they had never, not once, made the mistake of passing Mars. The first shot changed everything. Nobody was ready for it. Not the alien fleet, not Earth, not even the soldiers inside Mars base Redwall. Because when Hammerfall fired for the very first time, the entire planet of Mars shook. It was not a small shake. It was not like an earthquake. It was deeper than that. It came from 400 meters underground, from the very core of the weapon system, a sound so low and so powerful that soldiers felt it in their bones before they heard it with their ears. Then came the light. A beam of pure white energy shot up through a hidden shaft in the Martian surface, straight and fast and completely silent in the emptiness of space. It crossed the distance to the alien fleet in less than 2 seconds, and hit the 3 lead warships. All 3 disappeared, not damaged, not broken, gone. Where 3 city-sized warships had been floating 1 second before, there was nothing, just empty space and a small cloud of dust that spread slowly in every direction. Inside the base, nobody moved, nobody spoke. Every single person stared at the targeting screen. Private Cole's mouth was open. His hands were still on the controls, but he had forgotten about them. "It worked," Dr. Okafor whispered. She said it like she could not believe it, like the words felt strange in her mouth. It actually worked. Commander Yara watched the screen. Her face was unreadable as always, but deep inside something moved, something that felt like relief, just for 1 second. Then it was gone, because the radar was already showing her what came next. The alien fleet stopped. All 4,257 remaining ships stopped moving at exactly the same moment, like one giant creature that had suddenly frozen in place. For 11 seconds, nothing happened. 11 seconds of complete stillness, and then the fleet turned. Slowly, together, perfectly. All of them, turning away from the direction of Earth and pointing directly at Mars. "They are coming for us," Private Cole said. His voice was quiet but steady. He was scared. Anyone could see that. But he stayed in his seat, hands back on the controls, eyes on the screen. Yara noticed that. She made a mental note to remember it. "Yes, they are," she said calmly. "So let us be ready for them." What happened in the next 4 hours was something that no human had ever experienced before. A real space battle. Not in a movie, not in a simulation. A real battle between human weapons and an alien fleet that had never been stopped by anyone. The alien ships opened fire first, hundreds of red energy blasts moving toward Mars like a wall of fire. "Shields," Yara said. The base's shield system activated. Underground generators pushed power to the surface. A dome of shimmering blue energy covered the top of the base. The first wave of alien fire hit the shields. The base shook hard. Lights flickered. Someone fell from their chair, but the shields held. "Return fire," Yara said. 6 secondary weapon systems activated across the Martian surface, hidden under sand and rock for 30 years, now rising up like angry fists from the ground. They fired together, streaks of energy cutting through space in every direction, hitting alien ships one after another, not always destroying them. Some only damaged, some knocked sideways out of formation. But every hit counted. Every ship that could not fight was one less problem. The alien fleet adapted fast. That was the frightening thing. They were not just powerful, they were smart. Within 30 minutes, they changed their formation, spreading wide so the secondary weapons could not hit many ships at once, sending smaller, faster ships around the sides to find weak points, firing in patterns that tested the shields from multiple directions at the same time. "They have done this before," Dr. Okafor said from her station. "Many times. They know how to break defenses. Give me options, Yara said. Mars dust storms. Dr. Okafor replied immediately. She was already typing. If we activate the surface wind generators on the north side, we create an artificial storm. Their targeting sensors will struggle in heavy dust. It will affect our targeting too, but there's more. Yara did not hesitate. Do it. The dust storm rose from the northern plains of Mars like a living thing, red and brown and thick. A wall of dust 3 kilometers high moving fast across the surface. The alien targeting systems flickered. Their shots became less accurate. Some missed the base completely. Some hit each other by mistake. For a short time, the pressure on the shields dropped. The base stopped shaking so hard soldiers breathed for the first time in an hour. But the cost was rising. Section 7 of the base took a direct hit. The ceiling collapsed. 4 soldiers did not make it out. The eastern tunnel flooded with smoke and had to be sealed. Power to 2 secondary weapons was lost. From 6 surface weapons they were down to 4. And the alien fleet was still out there, still 4,000 ships. They had destroyed maybe 60. 60 out of 4,000. Private Cole looked at the numbers on his screen. He did not say anything, he just kept working. Loading targets, firing, reloading. His young face hard and focused. No more shaking hands. Then the personal message came. It appeared on the main screen without warning. Not from Earth, from the alien fleet, a face appeared. Not human. Gray skin, 4 eyes arranged in a square pattern, no visible nose, a wide, thin mouth. When it spoke, the translation system took 3 seconds to process the words. Then the words appeared in English below the face. You fight well for a small species, but this base will fall in 1 hour. Surrender now and your people will be kept alive as workers. Continue and nothing will remain. The face watched them, waiting. Yara stepped forward. She looked directly at the camera. She was covered in dust from a nearby explosion. There was a cut above her left eye, dried blood on her cheek. She looked tired. She looked damaged. But her eyes were something else entirely, something that the alien commander had perhaps never seen before in 300 years of conquest. Absolute refusal. I have a message for you too, she said quietly, her voice completely calm. We have been fighting for 4 hours. You have 4,000 ships. We have 200 people and 1 base. She paused. And we are still here. Another pause. We are just getting started. The transmission ended. The room was silent for 1 second. Then Private Cole said something unexpected. He laughed, a short, surprised laugh. And then 3 more people laughed, and then the whole room, all of them, tired, dusty, scared, bleeding in some cases, but laughing, because in that moment they understood something important. They were still alive, they were still fighting, and their commander had just looked an alien warlord in the eye and told him to keep trying. But Yara was not laughing. She had turned back to her screens because she had seen something. The alien fleet was pulling back slightly, regrouping, reorganizing. They were not retreating. They were preparing for something bigger, something final. Commander, Dr. Okafor's voice was low and serious. All laughter stopped immediately. They are charging something on their flagship. I have never seen an energy reading this large. She looked up from her screen, her sharp eyes wide for the first time. If they fire that, our shields will not hold. Yara nodded slowly. She had already made the calculation. She had already made her decision. She walked to a sealed panel on the back wall, a panel she had opened only once before, on the day she first became commander. She pressed her hand against it. It opened. Inside was a single red switch, and above it, 5 words written in black. Last option, authorize commander only. She looked at it for a long moment. The base shook again from another hit. Dust fell from the ceiling. Someone behind her coughed. Yara reached in and put her hand on the switch. Nobody knew what the last option would do. Not even Yara. The engineers who built it had called it theoretical. They had said it might work. They had also said it might destroy half of Mars. But the alien flagship was charging its final weapon, and there was no more time. There was no more choice. The switch was cold under Yara's hand, cold like Mars itself, cold like the space outside those walls. She stood there for exactly 3 seconds. 3 seconds where everything felt very slow. She could hear her own heartbeat. She could hear the breathing of 200 people behind her. She could hear the alien flagship charging its final weapon outside, a deep rising hum that came through the walls and the rock and the 400 meters of Martian ground. Getting louder, getting closer. She pulled the switch. Nothing happened for 5 seconds. Then the entire base went dark. Every light, every screen, every system, complete darkness. Someone gasped. Someone else grabbed something to steady themselves. Then the emergency red lights came on, dim and dark red, and a sound started from somewhere very deep below them, deeper than the base, deeper than the tunnels, deeper than anything they had built. From the core of Mars itself, a sound like the planet was waking up. "What is happening?" Private Cole asked. His voice was steady, but his eyes were wide in the red light. Dr. Okafor was staring at her screen, the one screen that still had power. Her face was pale. "The last option," she said slowly. "It is not a weapon." She looked up. "It is a trap." The engineers who designed Project Redwall had thought about everything. They knew that one day the base might face an enemy, too big to fight directly. So they built something underneath the weapons, underneath the tunnels, underneath everything. A network of energy conductors drilled deep into the Martian core. For 30 years, those conductors had been slowly, quietly collecting geothermal energy, storing it, building it up layer by layer like a battery the size of a planet. The last option did not fire that energy outward like a weapon. It released it upward, through the surface of Mars in every direction at once. A pulse, a massive energy pulse that would expand outward from Mars like a shock wave, fast and wide and completely unavoidable. The engineers had calculated it would reach approximately 400 kilometers in every direction, more than enough to cover the entire alien fleet. "Will it destroy them?" Yara asked. Dr. Okafor shook her head. "Not destroy," she said. "Disable. Every electronic system within range will shut down completely." She paused. "Every system, Commander." She looked around the dark base, including ours. Outside, the alien flagship finished charging. The energy reading on Dr. Okafor's last working screen went off the chart. Whatever the aliens were about to fire, it was enormous. It would not just destroy the base. It would crack the surface of Mars. It would turn Redwall into a crater. It was over unless the pulse fired first. "How long?" Yara said. 90 seconds. Dr. Okafor replied. "The pulse needs 90 seconds to reach full charge." Another hit rocked the base. The red emergency lights flickered. "Their weapon fires in 60, Dr. Okafor said quietly. 60 seconds versus 90 seconds. Yara did the math instantly. They were 30 seconds short. 30 seconds away from survival. 30 seconds away from failure. She turned to her team, 200 people looking at her in the dark red light. Dusty faces, tired eyes, some with bandages, some with dried blood. All of them looking at her. All of them trusting her. "I need 30 seconds, she said. "I need every weapon we have left to fire everything right now at that flagship. Not to destroy it, no, just to make them stop charging for 30 seconds. Can we do that?" Private Cole was already at his station. "We have 2 surface weapons left," he said, "and Hammerfall has 1 more shot before the pulse takes it offline." He looked at her. 3 weapons against their flagship. It might work. It might not. Yara nodded. "Fire everything." The 2 surface weapons fired first, hitting the alien flagship on its left side. Energy shields flared bright. The flagship shook. Inside the alien command center, something exploded. The charging sequence interrupted for 11 seconds while they redirected power to shields. 11 seconds. Then Hammerfall fired its last shot. The white beam crossed space and hit the flagship dead center. The largest explosion of the entire battle. The flagship spun sideways, its charging sequence interrupted again. 17 more seconds, 28 seconds total. They needed 30. 2 seconds short. Come on, Private Cole whispered. His fists were tight on the control panel. Come on, come on, come on. The alien flagship steadied itself. It turned back toward Mars. The charging hum started again, rising fast this time, faster than before. Then Dr. Okafor made a sound. Not words, just a sound. A short, sharp sound that made everyone look at her. Pulse is ready, she said. Her voice was shaking. It charged faster than calculated. Commander, the pulse is ready right now. Yara did not wait. Fire the pulse. What happened next was witnessed by every telescope on Earth, every space station, every satellite, every human eye that was pointed at the sky that night. Mars lit up, not like an explosion, not like a fire, like a star. A wave of pure white energy burst outward from the surface of Mars in every direction, silent and enormous and beautiful and terrifying all at once. It expanded outward at impossible speed, reaching the closest alien ships in seconds, washing over the entire fleet in less than a minute, and then silence. Every alien ship went dark. All 4,197 remaining warships, dark and silent and still, floating in space like dead metal, their weapons offline, their engines offline, their shields offline, everything gone. And the alien flagship, the largest ship in the fleet, the ship that had been 3 seconds away from destroying Mars, it drifted sideways slowly, completely dead.
Inside Mars base Redwall, everything was dark and silent too. No lights at all now, not even the emergency red, just darkness. The sound of people breathing. Is everyone alive? Yara said, into the darkness. Voices came back one by one, some strong, some weak, some shaking. But they came back, all of them, 208 voices in the dark. They had lost 4 people in the battle. For people who would never answer again, Yara closed her eyes for a moment. Just a moment, then she opened them. Backup power now, she said. The lights came back slowly, dim at first, then brighter. Screens flickered on one by one, and on every screen the same image, 4,000 alien warships. Dark, silent, drifting, going nowhere. Private Cole stared at the screen for a long time. Then he put his head down on his arms on the control panel. His shoulders shook once, just once. Then he sat back up straight and wiped his face quickly with his sleeve. He was 19 years old. He had just helped save the human race on Earth. 6 hours passed with no information. The pulse had taken out long-range communication too. 6 hours of silence. 6 hours of 8 billion people watching the sky, waiting, holding their breath, some crying, some praying, some holding hands with strangers on the street, all of them waiting. Then the signal came back online. And the first image that Earth received was a live feed from Mars. Commander Yara, dusty and tired and cut above her eye, standing in front of her team. All 208 of them still standing. General Webb's face appeared on the screen. He was not a man who showed emotion easily. Everyone who knew him knew that. But when he saw Yara's face on that screen, when he saw those 208 people standing behind her, his jaw tightened and his eyes went bright. He breathed in slowly. Commander Yara, he said, his voice was rough. You saved 8 billion people today, he paused. You had orders and you broke them. Another pause. And you were absolutely right to do it. Yara looked at the camera. We just did our job, General, she said simply. Then the alien flagship sent one final transmission. The gray-faced commander appeared on screen one last time. His 4 eyes looked different now. Something had changed in them. Something that looked strangely like respect. We have conquered 300 civilizations, he said slowly through the translator. We have never retreated. We have never been stopped. He looked at Yara directly. We have never met your kind before. A long pause. We will not make that mistake again. The transmission ended. The alien fleet, still dark and disabled, began to drift slowly backward, away from Mars, away from Earth, back into the deep darkness of space. 3 days later, when power was restored and repairs had begun, Private Cole stood outside on the Martian surface in his pressure suit. He looked up at the black sky full of stars, and in that sky he found the small blue dot, Earth. small and quiet, and still there, still alive. He stood there for a long time just looking at it. Then he looked at the red ground beneath his boots, the cold, dusty, silent surface of Mars. The planet that nobody had thought about much, the planet that was just supposed to be a science station. The planet that had saved everything. He smiled inside his helmet. Back on Earth, a small girl named Mia was sitting on her father's shoulders in a crowd of thousands. All of them outside, looking up at the night sky, looking at the small red dot. Her father pointed at it. "That is Mars," he said softly. Mia stared at it with big, serious eyes. Then she raised one small hand toward the sky, and she waved. Somewhere on the cold red surface, 400 kilometers away from everything, 208 tired humans began to rebuild. They did not feel like heroes. They felt tired and sad and grateful and hungry. But they had done something that no one had ever done before. They had stood between the darkness and everything that mattered, and they had not moved, not one single step. They came for Earth, but they forgot one thing. Humans do not give up. Humans do not kneel. And humans, as the universe now knew, do not just live on one planet anymore. END.